So the problem comes down to this, which is that I believe we're living through what I call a modern believability crisis. And this crisis makes it harder for any brand, and actually anyone, to be more believable, to earn trust, and to earn loyalty than it ever has before. So getting to loyalty, getting to love, is tough. Not just tough today, but tougher than it's ever been before, and it's getting tougher. Right? How's that for a doom and gloom message on on an afternoon right before we're heading out, right? But there is hope. There's hope. And the hope is that there's a secret behind this. There's a secret to creating this affinity, right? To traversing this likability gap. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The brands that do it, how do they do it, and how do we use some of those principles for the things that we're doing every day. And that's what the rest of this talk is really going to focus on. That's
You talk about brand love, and you talk about creating brand love. We have 24-hour news cycles, we have Twitter, we have kids with ADHD. How do you create generational brand love that transfers? Because that's one of the big things you do is we spend so much time and effort creating an experience for a younger generation. How does that carry over and then become relevant to the next generation of brand love?
Yeah, that's a really tough question because there's a lot of brands that try to do that and fail. And I think there's probably two answers to that question. One is sometimes you can't. Sometimes what somebody's going to love when they're 23 is never going to be what they love when they're 40. So sometimes that doesn't work. But sometimes, just to use a page from the credit card strategy, right? When I go and talk to financial institutions, one of the things that they say is what's really important is that moment when the 18-year-old gets their first credit card, it has to be our credit card. Because all our research shows that they're going to hold on to that credit card, they're going to buy more credit cards from us. That relationship is going to be a lifelong relationship, and it starts when they're 18. And a lot of their data shows that. So for them, the ultimate strategy to answer your question is we have to be first. Because if we're first, then we are in. So it kind of depends on the nature of the business. I mean, I know that's how it works in financial services. In your business, it's just a question of, is being first enough? Or, is it going to take something else?
Yeah. So the first principle is truth. Looking at the target that goes for luxury target, we all know that many brands, in order to enhance the value, lies to consumers. Don't you think that this target might be aware that it's not everything is true, but they might accept this bullshit in the right moment that the rest of the mix satisfy their needs of luxury?
So if I understand your question right, it's don't they buy it even despite the bullshit sometimes? The answer to that is yes, but they don't love it because of the bullshit, right? So really what it comes down to, like, if you're trying to sell something once, right? I mean, the example I love to use is if I'm a guy that's selling water bottles and I'm at the end of the marathon and I'm the only guy, I can charge whatever I want. Right? People might hate me, but they want water, right? So they need it. And if you're in that right moment, right, if you have the promotion, if you have the thing in the duty-free store and it's really cool, people will buy it, right? But long term, is that going to last, right? The next time they go to the store, are they going to say, that's the one I want because that's my brand? Usually not. That's where truth comes in. Yeah. You don't need it to sell something once, right? And we see plenty of evidence of that.
My question is, how do you differentiate habit from love? I think in our business, you have something that's very comfortable. I think people think that they love their spirit brand, but it's also a source of habit, and through that habit, there's comfort. Like, you know what you're gonna get in that glass at the end of the day. You know you don't have to think about it. So how do we, when we are trying to create love consumers, knowing that the people that we're targeting, how do we switch them from habit to love, and how can we tell the difference?
Yeah, the answer to that is pretty simple, but it actually leads to an interesting insight, which is you can sometimes take habit and turn it into love. But the answer to your question, the difference is people don't talk about their habits. So when they love something, they tell other people about it. When it's a habit, they go into a bar every time and that's what they order. But they don't necessarily think about it. It's not a conscious thing, right? Habits are just something we do. Now, if you have that customer who goes into the bar every time and says, I'm going to get the Stoli because that's my brand, That's a great place to start from. But you have to take that person and convert them into love, which is tell everybody else that you know, right? That's the likability gap. That's like when they take that extra step, that's when you get to love, right? Because everybody who is an Apple person, we've all had to suffer through that conversation where they try and convert you into having an iPhone, right? That's what an Apple person does. Now, they have a habit of checking their iPhone, and their habit might be to buy Apple stuff, but what distinguishes them is when they see you using something else, they kind of give you this, oh, and then they tell you about why you should convert, right? That's love, right? That's what we want.